Life ain't fair. Life ain't easy. And life don't wait. When life gets scary, I'm talking bills due, loved ones gone, doors slammed in your face. You gotta make a choice. Bow down to fear or stand up with faith. I'm not talking about fake bravery. I'm talking about real courage, the kind that shows up when your hands are shaking, knees buckling, but you still move forward. Because if you wanna be great, if you wanna leave a legacy, then you gotta learn how to be brave, even when life gets scary. Listen to me, fear is real. I ain't here to tell you that you're wrong for feeling it. I ain't gonna stand up here and act like life doesn't hit hard. It does. It's like a heavyweight champion, and some days it don't stop punching. Some days it comes at you from all directions. Bills, heartbreak, failures, disappointments, betrayal, illness. And you're standing there like, oh, what now? That's fear, and it's natural. But here's the key. You can acknowledge your fear. You can recognize that it's there, but you better never bow to it. Never let it paralyze you. Never let it make your decisions. Never let it silence your gifts. I need you to understand this. Being brave is not about pretending fear doesn't exist. That's a lie. Fear shows up for everybody. It showed up for the greats. It showed up for the warriors. It showed up for the legends. What separates them from the rest is they didn't bow down to it. They didn't let it control them. They didn't let it define the next move. They faced it eye to eye and said, I'm still going. I'm still moving. I'm still fighting. You know what's crazy? Some of y'all let fear talk to you more than you talk to yourself. You let that fear whisper lies in your ear. You're not good enough. You're gonna fail. You ain't ready. People gonna laugh at you. And the problem is you start listening. You start believing it. And once you believe it, you stop moving. That's the trap. That's how fear wins. It doesn't need to destroy you. It just needs to delay you long enough for you to give up on your own. But I'm telling you, you gotta flip the script. You gotta stand there, trembling hands and all, and move anyway. Courage ain't about confidence. It's about commitment. You think I always felt brave? You think when I was homeless, eating out of trash cans, I wasn't scared? I was terrified. But I showed up. I did what I had to do. Because I knew if I bowed to fear, I stayed stuck. But if I move through it, even just an inch at a time, I get closer to the life I was born to live. Don't get it twisted. This ain't easy. This ain't for the faint of heart. This takes guts. It takes grit. It takes waking up every day and choosing courage, even when you don't feel like it. Even when you don't see the light. Even when it feels like the whole world is against you, you still get up. You still take that next step. You still speak your truth. Because bravery isn't loud. It's not always this big dramatic thing. It's quiet. It's steady. It's choosing action over anxiety. It's choosing faith over fear. You gotta learn to respond to fear with movement. Fear says, or not ready, and you say, oh, watch me. Fear says, or gonna fail. And you say, I'd rather fail trying than succeed standing still. Fear says, it's too dark, and you say, I'll become the light. That's how you flip it. That's how you take power back. Because the moment you stop giving fear permission to steer the wheel, everything changes. And hear me clearly, fear doesn't leave all at once. It ain't like a light switch you just flip off. It's more like a storm you walk through. But every step you take into that storm builds something in you. It strengthens you, it matures you. It teaches you to lean not on your emotions, but on your values, your principles, your discipline. This fear will scream for your attention, but your mission, that's gotta be louder. And let me tell you something else. Fear respects action. You want to quiet that fear. Move. Make a phone call. Write the first page. Show up at jam. Submit the application. Launch the business. Fear grows in silence, but it shrinks in the face of action. You keep waiting for the fear to go away before you move. And I'm telling you, that day might never come. Move first. The confidence will catch up later. You were built for this. You were created with the tools to overcome. The fact that you feel fear just means you're human. The fact that you're still breathing, still showing up, even when your heart is racing, that means you're already braver than you give yourself credit for. So stop looking for bravery to feel like a roar. Sometimes it's just a whisper that says, try again. Sometimes it's getting up on the third day when you fell on the first two. Sometimes it's showing up anyway. Fear doesn't define you. What defines you is how you respond. When life hits, when it gets real, when the walls close in and fear wraps around you like chains, there has to be something inside you that's bigger than the pain. bigger than the fear, bigger than the hurt. That something is purpose. You don't wake up every day and grind, sacrifice, sweat, and struggle just because you feel like it. You do it because there's a mission that's pulling you. And if that mission isn't bigger than the moment you're in, you're gonna fold every time. Let me be real with you. That pain will visit everyone. It doesn't discriminate. Rich, poor, talented, untalented, it don't matter. Life will test you. Life will squeeze you. It'll find the weak points and push you there over and over. But what determines whether you break or bend, whether you give up or go up, is your purpose. Your purpose. If your purpose ain't solid, if it ain't real, you'll tap out the moment pain shows up. But if your purpose is strong enough, deep enough, personal enough, then you'll use the pain. You'll turn it into fuel. See, some people run from pain, but the ones who win, they run through it. Not because they enjoy it, but because they know what's on the other side. They know why they're doing it. And that why, surface level, it's not I want to be famous or I want to be famous or I want likes on Instagram. That's go weak. That's going to crumble when life gets heavy. You need something stronger. Something that wakes you up when you ain't got the strength. Something that makes you move when your body says no and your emotions scream quit. That's why I ask people all the time, what's your why? Not your QI, not your cute answer, not your slogan. What's your real why? What's that thing that makes you cry just thinking about it? What's the thing you would die for? That's what's gonna carry you through fear. That's what's gonna carry you through those nights when everything hurts. And you still gotta get up in the morning and handle your business. Let me give you an example. When I was homeless, when I was sleeping in abandoned buildings, when I was eating out of trash cans, do you think I wasn't scared? Do you think I didn't want to quit? Every single day, I was terrified. I didn't know how I was gonna make it to the next one. But I had a why. I had a purpose. Tough living for me. I was living to change my bloodline. I was living to create a legacy. I was living to make sure my kids never had to see what I saw or go through what I went through. That's what kept me moving. Not comfort, not motivation, purpose. When you got a big enough purpose, you stop reacting to life and you start responding with power. Fear might still be there, but it doesn't drive you anymore. Your purpose drives you. The fear can talk, but your why speaks louder. You learn how to take that fear and use it. Turn it into energy, turn it into focus, turn it into drive. You know why some people fall apart when life gets hard. Because they never rooted their life in something unshakable. You can't build your life on emotions. They shift like the wind. You can't build it on hype. It fades when things get tough. You need something real, something foundational. That's what purpose is. And when you tap into it, when you really understand, you become dangerous. You become fearless. Not because the fear is gone, but because it no longer controls your steps. Let me make this clear. When the pain hits, don't try to hide from it. Use it as a mirror. Use it as a spotlight. Let it show you where your purpose lives. Let it show you how deep your why really is. Pain will test the weight of your purpose. It will see if it can hold you up when everything else is falling apart. And I get it. Some of you feel like giving up. Right now, you're standing at the edge. Wonder whenever it's even worth it. But I'm telling you, don't quit. Don't fold. Don't bother the fear or the pressure. Because if your purpose is real, if it's true, then this moment, this fear, it's just a test to see how bad you want it, a test to see what you're made of, a test to see if you believe what you said when everything was easy. That's the thing about fear. It shows up when you're getting close to something great. It shows up when you're leveling up. But if you let your purpose lead the way, that fear won't stop you. You use it like fuel. And eventually you'll look back and realize the fear wasn't there to break you. It was there to build you, to reveal who you really are, to bring your purpose into the light. So the next time fear shows up, I don't want you to panic. I don't want you to shrink. I want you to lean into it. And I want you to remind yourself, my purpose is bigger than my pain. My vision is greater than this fear. And I was built for this moment. You want to be brave when life gets scary? You want to rise when most people break down? Then you got to train your mind. Not once, not randomly, daily. The same way an elite athlete trains their body, sharpens their technique, builds their endurance, you've got to do the same thing with your mind. You've got to do the same thing with your mind. Because when the pressure hits, when fear starts knocking, it's not your muscles that save you, it's your mental toughness. It's what you planted in your head long before the storm ever showed up. Let me make it plain. Mental toughness isn't something you're born with. It's not a gift. It's not something the strong have and the weak don't. It's trained. It's developed. It's earned. You get it by showing up every single day when you don't feel like it. By pushing yourself when your body and your feelings say a stop. It's doing what needs to be done, whether you feel motivated or not. Discipline trains the mind. Repetition makes it automatic. Consistency makes it unstoppable. You think just watching a motivational video is enough to build a strong mind? You think scrolling through Instagram quotes is gonna give you the grit to survive when life gets terrifying? Nah, you need real reps. You need discipline in your morning. You need structure in your night. You need to feed your mind the right thoughts like fuel. Read books that grow you. Write down your goals daily. Practice gratitude when your world feels like it's falling apart. Visualize the win when all you can see is the loss. And don't just train when it's easy, train when it's hard. Because the real mental strength is built in resistance. When everything is going wrong and you still choose to stand. When you're dead tired and you still lace up your shoes. When you're hurting and you still speak life into yourself. That's where the mental giants are made. Not in the comfort zone, but in the fire. There were days I was broke. Days I was broken. Days I didn't know how I was gonna make it. But I still trained. I still got up at 3 a.m. I still put in the work. Not because I felt like it, but because I made a commitment. And hear me, commitment is stronger than emotion. If you only train your mind when things are smooth, you're gonna collapse the second the wind picks up. But if you build yourself under pressure, when fear hits, you won't fold, you'll fight. You gotta understand, fear starts in the mind. It's a story your brain tells you. It's a prediction, not a prophecy. It says that this might happen. That could go wrong. You might fail. But mind is strong. You don't let the fear take the mic. You talk back. You say, I prepared. I've trained. I've seen this moment before. I know what I'm built for. And you walk through it. Not because you're fearless, but because your mindset is forged in fire. Your mind is a battlefield, and most of the battles you fight in life are won or lost before you ever take action. You lose the battle when you believe the doubt, when you accept the anxiety, when you agree with the fear. But you win when you discipline your thoughts, when you capture every lie, replace it with truth. When you catch yourself slipping and say, we don't think like that anymore. We rise now. And look, I know it ain't easy. It takes repetition. It takes time. Some days you'll feel like you're making no progress. But I promise you, every time you choose discipline over distraction, focus over fear, commitment over comfort, you are building something in your mind that fear cannot tear down. Start small, win the morning. Don't pick up your phone. Pick up your vision. Speak your goals out loud. Get quiet and listen to your thoughts. Filter them. Kill the lies before they grow roots. Feed your mind greatness daily. Study the greats. Think like a champion, not a victim. Get your mind so used to winning that it can't accept anything less, even in the middle of chaos. There are people out there more talented than you, more connected, more experienced, but they'll lose to you if your mind is stronger. Talent can't beat tenacity. Skill can't beat resilience. Because when life gets scary, most people panic. But the one who's trained their mind, they stay calm, they stay focused, they keep moving, they think clear. That's the difference. That's the edge. So if you want to be brave, don't just wait for the moment, prepare for it. Talk, just wait for the moment, prepare for it. Train your thoughts like you train your body. Get stronger every day. And when fear shows up, and it will, you'll already be ready. You won't need to find courage because you've been building it every morning, every night, every decision. One rep at a time, one thought at a time, one day at a time, one day at a time. That's how champions think. That's how the brave rise when the world gets dark. They don't break, they execute because they train for this. Faith over feelings, say it again. Because most people are out here trying to live based on how they feel. And I get it. Feelings are powerful. They're loud, they're convincing. Some days, your feelings will scream at you that you're not good enough, that you're tired, that you should give up, that it's too hard, that you don't have what it takes. And if you let those feelings make your decisions, they'll rob you of everything you were born to become. Feelings lie. You feel broke, but you're not broken. You feel tired, but there's still more in the tank. You feel afraid, but you are still capable. You feel defeated, but your story's not over. If you live your life reacting to every emotion that hits you, you'll never be stable. You'll never be stable. One minute you're fired up and the next you're questioning everything. That's why faith is your anchor. Faith is what holds you steady when your emotions go to war with your mind. Faith tells you to keep going when feelings tell you to quit. There were days when I didn't feel like getting up, move. There were days I didn't feel like speaking, didn't feel like writing, didn't feel like showing up for anybody, not even myself. But I had to remind myself, I'm not here to serve my feelings. I'm here to serve my purpose. I had to dig into something deeper. I had to say, look, feelings, I hear you, but you don't get the final word. Faith does. You think champions always feel motivated? You think warriors always feel strong? No. They move because they believe in something bigger than the moment. They believe in a process. They believe in a future that hasn't arrived yet, but they trust that it's coming. And that belief, that faith, it carries them through the storm. Some of you are waiting to feel courageous before you act brave. You're waiting to feel confident before you take the risk. You're waiting to feel ready before you step out. But let me tell you something. Those feelings might never show up. If they do, they don't last. Courage is not a feeling. Confidence is not a feeling. They are responses to fear, not the absence of it. Faith isn't about certainty or constant moment. It's about commitment. It's saying, even though I don't feel it today, I'm showing up anyway. It's saying, even though I can't see how this is going to work out, I'm trusting in that will. Faith means showing up to the gym when your body says stay home. It means practicing when nobody's watching. It means staying focused when everything in your life feels like it's falling apart. That's faith. That's what turns ordinary into extraordinary. You got to understand that emotions are like waves. They come, they crash, they pass. But faith is like a mountain. It's steady. It's unmoved. You can feel fear and still move forward. You can feel doubt and still act. The difference between people who win and people who lose isn't whether they feel fear. It's what they do with it. The truth is, your feelings will betray you if you let them. You'll feel too small, too late, too tired, too unqualified. But none of that's true. That's just how you feel. And how you feel doesn't define who you are. You define who you are by what you do in spite of how you feel. That's how greatness is built. That's how resilience is formed. You fight through the fog. You trust the process. You believe before the evidence. That's faith. There were moments I had nothing left. And still, I moved. I moved not because I felt strong, but because I believed there was something on the other side of the struggle. I believed that pain wasn't permanent. I believed the work wasn't wasted. I believed I was called for more. And that belief, that faith, kept me breathing, kept me stepping, kept me building when everything around me looked like it was falling apart. I need you to start making decisions based on vision, not emotion. I need you to wake up every day and decide who you are, not based on how you feel, but based on what you know. You know you've come too far. You know you've overcome too much. You know there's more in you. You know your family's counting on you. You know you got gifts inside of you. Stop letting your feelings shut down your destiny. You're waiting to feel good before you move. But what if the movement is the very thing that brings the breakthrough? What if the step you take in faith creates the shift you've been praying for? You keep hesitating, thinking the right feeling will show up. But maybe God is waiting for you to move first. Maybe he's saying, I gave you enough. You've got everything you need. Now go. Faith over feelings. That's the blueprint. And you don't have to feel brave to be brave. You don't have to feel strong to act strong. You don't have to feel ready to begin. Just trust the vision. Trust the calling. Trust the work. Trust the work. Trust yourself. You're stronger than your emotions. Let's be clear. Fear never fully disappears. It doesn't matter how strong you are, how much you've achieved, how far you've come. Fear will always try to pull up a chair and sit at your table. It'll whisper in your ear that you're not ready, not worthy, not enough. But bravery isn't about erasing fear. Bravery is about moving forward, while fear is still talking. It's about standing tall when every part of you is shaky. It's about stepping into the unknown even when your heart is pounding and your palms are sweaty. See, we got it twisted. We thought it twisted. We think courage is the absence of fear. But real courage is action in the presence of fear. It's walking into the fire anyway. It's speaking up when your voice trembles. It's showing up when nobody believes in you. Courage doesn't mean you're not scared. It means the fear didn't stop you. Isn't that right there? And that's what separates the ones who rise from the ones who retreat. You're waiting for the fear to go away before you move. But let me tell you, it won't. Fear is part of the journey. It's baked into the process. If you're chasing something meaningful, if you're stepping out of the comfort zone, fear is going to show up every single time. And it's not there to stop you, it's there to test you, to see if what you want is real or just talk. Some people let fear paralyze them. They sit on dreams for years because the fear of failure screams louder than the desire for success. But the brave ones, they don't wait for perfect conditions. They move messy, they move afraid, they move unsure, because they know that forward motion is power. Every step forward weakens fear's grip. Every time you act in spite of the fear, you get stronger. Your courage muscle grows. I remember walking into rooms where I felt like I didn't belong, speaking on stages where I questioned whether I was good enough, trying to change lives when I was still healing my own. And fear was there every step of the way. But I made a decision. I wasn't going to let fear be the author of my story. I wasn't going to let it decide how far I go. I didn't wait to feel brave. I acted brave. I acted brave, and eventually that actually became confidence. That's the key. Confidence is built on the other side of action. You don't feel bold and then move. You move and then feel bold. You don't become strong by avoiding what scares you. You become strong by facing it again and again and again and again. Every time you face your fear, you chip away at its power. You shrink it. You take its voice away. And one day you wake up and realize the thing that once terrified you now fuels you. You got to look at fear in the face and say, I hear you, but you don't lead me anymore. You've got to stop waiting and start stepping. You've got to stop letting fear talk you out of your greatness. Because if you let fear make your decision, it will build you a life of regret. It will bury your potential under excuses. And you'll be stuck in the same place year after year, knowing deep down you could have been done more. But if you choose bravery, if you make that daily choice to step through the fear instead of back away, you begin to reclaim your life. You begin to write your own story. One decision at a time, one moment at a time. And you realize that fear is not the enemy, it's the indicator. It shows you where your growth lives, where your breakthrough hides, where your purpose is waiting. You've got to learn to walk with fear like a shadow. It can follow, but it can't lead. And you got to stop telling yourself that courage is something you either have or don't. It's not. It's a skill, a discipline, a habit. And like any habit, the more you practice it, the more natural it becomes. Start small if you have to. Speak when you're nervous. Try when you're unsure. Show up when you want to hide. And don't measure success by how fearless you feel. Measure it by how much you refuse to let fear win. That's bravery. That's the kind of strength that builds legend. That's the mindset that changes lives. You weren't created to be ruled by fear. You weren't built to shrink, to hide, to sit on the sidelines while life passes you by. There's more in you, more fire, more power, more resilience. But you'll never know it until you move while afraid. So don't wait for courage to find you. Go get it, one bold step at a time. And watch as you become the version of yourself fear never wanted you to meet. When life gets scary, most people hide. They shrink, they avoid, they run. But the ones who rise, the ones who conquer the fear, are the ones who shift their focus. Because fear thrives in your mind when you lock in on a worst case scenario. When you imagine everything falling apart. When you replay all the reasons why you might fail. But listen to me, whatever you focus on, you fuel. If you focus on fear, fear grows. But if you focus on purpose, courage shows up. You've got to make a decision. Where is your focus going to live? Are you going to stare at the obstacles? Or are you going to fix your eyes on the opportunity? Are you going to replay the pain? Or are you going to rewire your mind with the vision of what's possible? Because fear wants your attention. It wants to rent space in your head. It wants to dominate your thoughts until it becomes your truth. But you've got to evict fear from your focus and start feeding your future instead. Purpose gives pain direction. When you have a reason why, a mission that matters, you stop allowing fear to call the shots. You say, yeah, I'm scared, but my purpose is bigger than my fear. And that shift, that mental redirection, that's when things start to change. That's when fear loses its grip. Because now you're not acting based on what you're afraid might happen. You're acting based on what must happen. what you were born to do, what you refuse to die without doing. There have been times in my life where fear tried to take over. Times I was uncertain. Times I felt unqualified. Times I wondered if I had what it took. And if I had focused on those fears, I would have missed my moment. I would have stayed stuck. But I didn't let fear take center stage. I shifted. I said, this is what I was built for. This is why I'm here. I focused on the people I needed to reach, the lives I needed to impact, the calling I couldn't ignore. Because when your mind is locked in on something bigger than you, bigger than your insecurities, bigger than your doubts, your courage rises. You move different. You don't need to feel 100% ready. You just need to be 100% committed. And that commitment keeps you moving when everything in your environment tells you to stop. You want to be brave in scary seasons? Then change what you focus on. Wake up and ask yourself, what is my why? Is my why? And let that why burn inside of you so high that fear can't breathe around it. Let that vision get so clear that there's no room for hesitation. You can't think about everything that could go wrong. You gotta lock in on everything that could go right. You've gotta see the outcome you're chasing like it's already yours. That's how winners think. That's how warriors survive the storm. Fear is loud, but purpose is louder. If you turn up the volume, that means you gotta feed your focus every day. You gotta surround yourself with what reminds you of your mission. Listen to voices that lift you. Yeah, read things that challenge you. Write down your goals. Speak them out loud. Meditate on the outcome. Because fear grows in silence, but purpose grows when it's declared boldly and daily. When you focus on purpose, something changes inside you. Your body might still feel the fear. Your heart might still race. But your spirit stays calm because you know why you're here. You're not just living for comfort, you're living for contribution. You're not just chasing safety, you're chasing significance. And that gives you the strength to stand when everything around you is shaking. There's a reason some people keep moving through pain, a reason they don't let fear paralyze them. It's because their focus is locked in. They're not watching the fear, they're watching the finish line. They're not calculating all the risks. They're counting the rewards. They're not saying, what if I fail? They're saying, what if I fly? They flip the script. They aim their focus at fate instead of fear. And look, I'm not saying it's easy. Fear will try to creep back in. Distractions will come. Doubts will whisper. But you've got to get disciplined about your focus because your life will move in the direction of your dominant thoughts. If all you think about is what scares you, you'll freeze. But if you start thinking about what drives you, you'll move, even with shaky hands, even with a racing heart. Bravery isn't the absence of fear. It's the presence of focus in the middle of it. It's the decision to tune out the noise and zero in on the mission, to rise up when every voice in your head says, sit down, to keep going when everything says quit. You don't need to feel fearless. You just need to see the vision clearly enough that you can't ignore it. So shift the focus from fear to faith, from fear to purpose, from pain to growth, from excuses to execution. You were never meant to live in the shadows of fear. You were built for light, for movement, for progress. Your future is waiting, but it needs your focus. So give it your full attention and let fear starve in the silence. Life is unpredictable. 1 minute, everything feels fine. And the next, it feels like the floor beneath you is crumbling. You lose someone, you fail. You fall. You get rejected, betrayed, broken. And in those moments, those dark, heavy, crushing moments, fear feels like it's wrapping its hands around your throat. You can't breathe. You can't think. You start to wonder, how do I keep going when everything hurts? But if you want to be brave when life gets scary, you've got to learn how to stand in the storm. You've got to ground yourself even when the wind is howling. When the wind is howling, you've got to root yourself so deep that even if the world shakes, you don't fall apart with it. You have to anchor yourself, not in your feelings, not in what you see, not in what's happening around you. You anchor yourself in your values, in what you believe, in what you know to be true, even when nothing around you confirms it, because feelings will lie to you. Fear will try to manipulate your perspective. Pain will cloud your vision. But your core, your deepest truth, that's what you hold on to when everything else is out of control. You've got to know who you are before the storm comes. Because if you wait until it hits to find your identity, it's already too late. You've got to decide in advance. I am resilient. I'm disciplined. I am built for this. And you repeat that. You speak it over yourself. You make it part of your DNA so that when fear shows up, it doesn't find someone weak and confused. It finds someone rooted. I've been in those moments where everything I worked for was hanging by a thread, where fear told me it was over, where I couldn't see tomorrow and today was already unbearable. And the only thing that kept me from breaking was the decision to stand, not to run, not to collapse, just to stand, just to hold the line one more hour, one more day. That might not sound like much, but that's where bravery begins. It's not always loud. It's not always pretty. Sometimes courage is just not quitting. When life is scary, people want to escape. They want to numb the pain. They want to hide. But bravery isn't in escaping. It's in enduring. It's in saying, and this hurts, but I'm still here. I'm scared, but I'm still showing up. You don't have to have all the answers. You don't have to know how everything will work out. You just have to decide that fear won't be the one driving the car. And you anchor yourself in your why, in your mission, in the people counting on you, in the future version of you who's already made it through. That future version is waiting for you on the other side of this pain. But you've got to keep moving. You've got to plant your feet and say, this storm doesn't get to define me. I do. Standing firm doesn't mean you don't cry. It doesn't mean you don't feel the weight. It means you choose not to be consumed by it. You feel it, you process it, but you don't surrender to it. You might bend, but you don't break. You might stagger, but you don't fall. That's the kind of strength that makes you unshakable. That's the kind of mindset that gets you through things other people never recover from. And you got to understand this. Storms don't last forever. But what they build in you does. The strength, the wisdom, the grit, those things stay. Every scary moment you walk through is shaping you. Every painful experience is carving out something deeper in you. You are being refined in the fire, not destroyed. You are being strengthened, not punished. You don't grow when it's easy. You grow when it's tough. You grow when life squeezes you and you refuse to collapse. You grow when everything screams, give up, and you whisper back, not today. That's bravery, not fearlessness, faithfulness. Staying faithful to your values, your call, your truth, even in chaos. And sometimes bravery looks like asking for help. Sometimes it's not about being the strongest. It's about being humble enough to say, I can't do this alone. That takes courage too. Reaching out, letting someone in, admitting that you're hurting. That's not weakness, wisdom. You don't have to be a superhero to be brave. You just have to keep showing up. So when life gets scary, don't run, don't freeze, don't shrink. Stand, anchor yourself, remind yourself who you are. Remember what you're fighting for and tell the fear, you can howl all you want, but I'm not moving. I'm not backing down. I've come too far. I've survived too much. I'm still here. Because brave people are made in easy times. They're made in the fire. And if you can stand now, right now, then nothing life throws at you will ever be enough to stop you. When life gets scary, the first instinct most people have is to retreat, to pull back, to avoid, to protect themselves. But real courage, real strength, it's found when you do the opposite. It's found when you lean in. When instead of running from your fear, you walk toward it somehow. Because the only way to conquer fear is to face it. The only way to break through is to go through. You don't grow by avoiding hard things. You grow by stepping into them. You grow by walking into the dark places and learning you can still shine there. You grow by facing the things that once made you shake and saying, I'm not afraid of you anymore. You can't overcome what you refuse to confront. You can't rise if you won't first stand. That's why leaning into fear is a power move. It's how the brave are made. Look around at the people who have built something lasting. Leaders, warriors, world changers. They all had to face something that terrified them. They didn't skip that step. They didn't get to the top without walking through the valley. And when they got there, they didn't pretend fear wasn't real. They just refused to let it stop them. They understood something most people never do. Fear is not a wall, it's a door. And if you lean into it, if you push through it, you get access to everything you've been praying for. People waste years waiting for fear to disappear before they move. But fear doesn't lead. You have to move with it beside you. The only thing that weakens fear is action. Every time you take a step toward what scares you, you take some of fear's power away. You show yourself what you're really made of. You learn that fear doesn't control you, you control you. That's how confidence is built. Not in hiding, but in doing. Even if you're trembling, even if you don't have it all figured out, some of the scariest moments in your life are the ones that will shape you the most. The job you don't feel qualified for, the conversation you've been avoiding, the risk you've been too afraid to take, all of it is standing between you and your next level. But you won't get there if you keep letting fear sit in the driver's seat. You gotta grab the wheel and say, I may not know what's ahead, but I'm going anyway. The fear you feel isn't a sign to stop. It's a sign you're close to something that matters. Something that will stretch you, elevate you, grow you. That fear is like a guard dog at the gate of your breakthrough. It barks loud to scare you away, but if you move past it, everything changes. That dream you've been holding, it's on the other side of your fear. That version of you that's more powerful, more focused, more alive, is waiting for you to show up and do the hard thing. Stop letting fear talk you out of your future. Stop giving it permission to keep you small. You were never meant to live in a box of safety and regret. You were built for courage. You were made to lean in, to push forward, to go where others won't. You don't need everything to be perfect. You just need to be willing to try, willing to fail, willing to face what's uncomfortable so you can access what's extraordinary. I've been there, paralyzed by the unknown, wondering if I was good enough, ready enough, smart enough. And every time I backed down, I stayed stuck. But the moment I leaned in, even a little, that's when momentum began. That's when my confidence grew. That's when the path started to open up. Not because the fear disappeared, but because I stopped letting it decide what I could or couldn't do. You've got to learn to feel the fear and move anyway. You've got to build a habit of leaning in when you want to run. You got to rewire your response. Don't see fear as a stop sign. See it as a signal, a green light that says, this is where the growth is. This is where the next version of you lives. Because every time you confront something scary, you unlock more of your strength, more of your potential, more of your truth. Bravery doesn't come from avoiding scary things. It comes from doing them scared. And with every bold move, you become more resilient. With every risk, more relentless. With every scary step, more secure in who you are. That's how warriors are forged, not in the safe zones, but in the fire. So next time life gets scary, don't pull back. Don't retreat. Lean in. Lean in with your heart racing. Lean in with your voice shaking. Lean in with doubt in your mind, but purpose in your soul. Because on the other side of fear is your freedom. And the only way to get there is to go through it. Fear doesn't vanish on its own. You can't just sit around waiting for it to fade before you make your move. Fear feeds on delay. It grows when you hesitate. It multiplies when you stall. The longer you wait, the louder fear becomes. The more you postpone your purpose, the more powerful your doubts become. But when you take action, real, determined, intentional action, you strip fear of its grip. You take its voice away. You take back control. Action is the antidote. Movement is the cure. The only way to shut fear down is to move straight through it. You don't need to feel ready. You don't need every detail lined up. All you need is the decision to move anyway. It doesn't matter if your hands are shaking, your heart is pounding, your thoughts are racing. Take that step. Because that step, even if it's small, is what separates dreamers from doers. That first step breaks the cycle. That first move punches fear in the mouth and says, you don't run this. Courage is not the absence of fear. It's the refusal to let fear make your decisions. You can still feel the fear and act anyway. That's what makes you brave. Not that you feel nothing, that you do it anyway. That's the difference maker. People who win at life aren't fearless. They're just relentless. They don't freeze up in the face of adversity. They act. Take the next step. They send the message. They show up to the meeting. They make the call. They do the work. Scared, unready, unsure. But they do it. You can talk about what you want all day. You can write down your goals. You can visualize and meditate and plan it out. But if you never move, if you never act, nothing changes. Dreams don't work unless you do. And fear knows that. That's why it works overtime to keep you idle. It whispers lies like, oh, you're not ready, or what if you fail? But those are just distractions, smoke illusions. You don't conquer fear with thoughts. You conquer it with action. Every time you take action in the face of fear, you build confidence. Confidence isn't something you magically feel one day. It's something you earn. It's something you build brick by brick with every courageous decision. You step into the fear, and when it doesn't break you, you stand taller. You realize, I didn't die. I didn't fall apart. I made it. And you carry that confidence into the next challenge, the next storm, the next fear. That's how you grow. Not by thinking about being brave, being brave. Not by wishing you were confident, but by doing the thing that scares you right now. The phone call you've been avoiding, make it. The business you've been afraid to start it. The apology you've been putting off, speak it. Because fear will always give you reasons to wait. But bravery gives you one reason to act. Your purpose can't be put on hold for fear. There are people waiting on you to show up, waiting on you to lead, waiting on you to create, to speak, to serve, to inspire. You think your fear only affects you, but it doesn't. Every time you let fear win, the world loses a little bit of the gift you were supposed to give. You rob the world of your light when you let fear dim it. And that's not who you were built to be. You were created to move mountains, to defy odds, to rise above setbacks. But you can't do any of that sitting still. You can't do it watching from the sideline. You have to move, even if it's messy, even if you fail, because failure is feedback. It's part of the process. You won't always get it right, but you will grow. You will get better. You will become stronger than the fear that tried to stop you. Some of the greatest victories in life come right after the scariest decisions. That leap of faith. That's where you find your wings. That risk you're afraid to take, that's where your next level lives. But you will never know unless you act, unless you take that step, unless you say, I'm not letting fear steal this from me. You don't overcome fear by sitting in it. You overcome fear by outworking it, by showing up when you don't feel like it, by pushing forward when everything in you says stop, by acting with faith, not feelings. Every time you do that, you weaken fear. You break its pattern. You remind yourself of who you really are. Not a victim, not a coward, but a fighter, a builder, a leader. Someone who refuses to let fear define the story. So stop waiting for courage to show up. Create it. Stop waiting for the fear to go away. Move through it. You got everything you need inside you, but you'll never activate it sitting still. Fear only has power when you give it space. Take the space back. Take the step. Take the shot. And don't stop until the fear fades and the future you've been dreaming of becomes your reality. You weren't created to live small. You weren't created to barely survive. There's something inside of you that was built for battle, designed for challenge, wired for greatness. But fear will lie to you. Fear will whisper that you're not enough, that it's too hard, that you should just stay where it's comfortable. And if you listen to fear long enough, you'll shrink your life down to the size of your insecurities. You'll settle for average when you were meant for extraordinary. But deep inside, you know the truth. You know that you were made to rise. You were made to rise above your fear. Life is going to hit you. It's going to throw things at you that you didn't see coming. Failure, rejection, heartbreak, loss. And when those moments come, fear will always be there, trying to convince you that this is the end of your story. It'll say, this is too much. You can't handle this. You're not strong enough. But I need you to understand something. You don't have to listen. Just because fear shows up doesn't mean it gets a say. You can rise anyway. You can feel the fear and still take the step. Still fight the battle. Still chase the dream. Still become the person you were meant to be. Fear only has the power you give it. It grows when you feed it. When you replay the worst case scenarios in your mind. When you talk yourself out of your potential. But when you stop feeding fear and start feeding your faith, everything changes. You stop seeing obstacles as roadblocks and start seeing them as opportunities. You stop asking, what if I fail? And start asking, what if I fly? You stop focusing on what could go wrong and start believing in what could go right. Rising above fear doesn't mean you don't feel it. It means you choose not to bottle it. You take control of the narrative. You tell yourself a different story. Not a story of defeat, but a victory. Not of weakness, but of strength. Because every time you overcome fear, you rewrite the limits of what you believe is possible. Every time you do something you thought you couldn't, you grow more powerful than the fear that once held you down. You've got to stop treating fear like a stop sign. It's not. It's a signal that you're about to do something important, something that matters. And the more fear you feel, the more likely it is that you're on the edge of something life-changing. That's why the biggest breakthroughs in life usually come right after the scariest moments. Fear is the doorman to your destiny. It shows up when you're close. Don't let it turn you away. Walk through, rise through. Stand up tall and say, I might be afraid, but I'm not backing down. You need to remind yourself that you've been through things before, hard things, things that try to break you. And yet, here you are, still breathing, still standing, still fighting. That's not weakness, that's strength. That's resilience. And if you made it through that, you can make it through this. But you gotta believe. You've gotta carry that truth into every scary moment and let it anchor you. And if you're tired, that's okay. If you feel like you can't go another round, that's okay too. But don't confuse fatigue with defeat. Rest if you need to, but don't quit. Don't give fear the satisfaction of watching you give up. Because the future you want is on the other side of this fear. The version of you who's strong, confident, thriving, that version is waiting for you to rise. But you gotta fight through the fear to meet them. This life isn't for the faint of heart. It's for the bold, the brave, the ones who look fear in the face and say, cut stronger than my purpose. The ones who show up even when it's hard, even when it hurts, even when nothing makes sense. Because that's what rising looks like. It's not perfect, it's not clean. Sometimes it's messy, sometimes it's slow. But it's always worth it. You were born with power, not the kind that needs applause or permission, but the kind that comes from knowing who you are and why you're here. You don't need the world to validate you. You just need to own your truth. You need to stand in your story, even the broken parts, and declare, this will not define me, this will not limit me. I'm rising above it. Fear wants to keep you quiet. It wants to keep you hidden. But your life is too valuable for that. Your calling is too urgent. You weren't put here to play it safe. You were put here to make an impact. And that impact starts when you rise through the pain, through the fear, through the doubt. And say, I may not be feeling, but I am unshakable. You don't have to have it all figured out. You just have to rise. One choice, one step, one act of courage at a time. And if you keep rising, eventually the fear that once stood in your way will be nothing more than a memory. A story you tell about how you overcame, about how you didn't let fear win, about how you rose. Because that's who you are.